Jada says she considered a legal divorce, but could never go through with it.
I made a promise that there will never be a reason for us to get a divorce. We will work through whatever. And I just haven't been able to break that promise.
But you still live separately.
We live separately.
Whew, baby. Hey guys, and welcome to Little Pepper. You know what time it is. Listen, we're going to give you guys a comprehensive, deep dive breakdown of Jada and Will Smith. I spent the last 4 hours sifting and combing through different videos, different articles to go deep with this conversation. I wanted to understand exactly why we're at this point where Jada can confidently say, I made a promise and I'm not going to divorce. And funnily enough, as I did my research, I realized that both her and Will made both of these statements. She wasn't the only one. Will also made a statement earlier on talking about how he would never divorce either, once in his book and also another time in some interviews as well. So these two have come to a point where their marriage has reached a stalemate or seemingly have reached an evolution in their relationship. And we found this out a few years ago when they said they were no longer calling each other husband and wife, married partners, but they transitioned into life partners. This conversation has been going on for the last few years. We've known that something has always been up. We've known that something has always been not quite right about the Smiths, right? And part of me also wants to say that we're kind of seeing an evolution of a relationship and we're seeing the middle of the relationship. Sometimes it's very hard to watch two people, one person, three people, a group, when you're watching the middle aspect of their livelihood and you're seeing things that you don't necessarily agree with. Many people have chosen their sides. Some have chosen Will, some have chosen Jada, some refuse to take a side, but it is a side when you don't choose to take a side. And we have various reasons as to why they've chosen Will or they've chosen Jada as to why the situation is at the point it is right now. I want to be very, very clear. I'm going to try and be as unbiased as possible in presenting the evidence that you're going to see in the next few moments for the next hour or so of this video. But I will say that there's going to always be a little bit of bias because as a man, I'm going to see things from a male perspective, and I'm probably going to side with Will a little bit because that's my childhood hero. I'm a childhood fan of him as well. So I might see things a little bit differently. But there is real conversation to be had about this relationship. And when we start talking about them at this point in 2023, where Jada comes out with a book and that book now turns into an interview and an interview now turns out to being a conversation about where they are in a relationship, that they actually are separated. we actually have to take it all the way back. We have to go all the way back to the very beginning. So that's what I did. I went all the way back to the very beginning. I went to find videos about Tupac. I went to find videos about them before they got married. I wanted to have a whole conversation about their upbringing and also about their childhood, because that's what we do on this channel. We want to be able to understand how they got to that place. And maybe if we do, maybe we might find some hope at the end of the tunnel. Maybe there might be even some resolution and some solutions that we can offer on the table for both Will and Jada. Let me make it very, very clear. Both of these people are at fault in the relationship. We can argue about who is arguably more at fault, but the reality is that both of these people have made statements that they want to stay in this marriage. It's graduated from becoming a marriage to life partners, and they refuse to divorce. No matter what the reason being, whether it's financial, whether it's that the fact that they've got trauma, whether it's the fact they've got the kids, whether it's because the fact that they just don't want to fail, whatever the reasoning, it doesn't really matter. They're both at the same point and have agreed to stand at this point. Thus, both of them are to blame for where we're at right now. So before we go any further, make sure you guys do me a massive favor, like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for the notification of the uploads, okay? Because, we want you guys to help us get to 100K subscribers, and you guys have been doing an amazing job in the last few weeks and months, and we really appreciate that. If you haven't done so, join our membership. It's £1 as well. It's £1, and you can join our membership and become part of the family, part of the team. We have membership lives every other Tuesday. I think our next one's going to be next Tuesday. It won't be. It'll be the next Tuesday after that, because we've got an interview with Tequila. And then if you love TV shows, you love talking about TV shows, then I want to encourage you, join our Patreon. You can join part of the Discord, have conversations about all your favorite TV shows, whether it's Ready to Love, Married at First Sight, whether it's Sisters, the Teamer, whatever it is, whether it's reality or whether it's fictional, whatever. You can join the Discord team and also have a good family to talk about your favorite TV shows at the time. Okay. And finally, if you have not done so, why haven't you grabbed your merchandise? Why have you not got your hoodie, your hat, your jacket? Why have you not grabbed yours? Go and grab yours. There's a link down below in the description box as well. And, get yourself acquainted with the Mineral Gang merchandise. Mineral Gang? You know what I mean? All right, let's get into this conversation, because it's deep, and we have to go back to the very beginning. We have to go back. But before I do, I want to address something, because there's conversation around whether there is abuse in this relationship, whether Jada is being abusive to Will in the relationship, whether there's some emotional abuse in the relationship. So let's just quickly unpack that before I go back further in the relationship, right? Is there emotional abuse in a relationship? It's a question we're going to ask ourselves. I think this is a very difficult conversation to dive into, because we don't get all the nuances. We get bit and part of conversation. We hear bits and bobs. But if we were to take emotional abuse in its definition, emotional abuse may be delivered as yelling, putting a partner down, commenting on a partner's body, deliberately not respecting a partner's boundaries, saying one thing while doing another. Emotional abuse is about the aspect of disrespecting your partner emotionally in the areas of their emotions and their feelings. It's disregarding it. It is putting them down. It is screaming and yelling. It's stuff that's going to affect them emotionally, hence why it's emotional abuse in that instance, right? And so with that being said, can we say that Jada and Will, they're in a relationship where there is some emotional abuse? Well, some would say because of the fact that Jada comes out and says all these truths about their relationship, that this is a form of emotional abuse. And there are instances within the relationship, for instance, where she has disregarded his boundaries. I would say that I'm a cautious person when it comes to using that word abuse. But it would befit both of them actually to be in a relationship that would be emotionally abusive, coming from their backgrounds where they've both experienced traumatic DV, emotional neglect on both of their sides of their childhoods. If we go back, and I'll do it, we're going to go there in a few minutes. If you go back and you watch through Jada's childhood, her mother and her father were drug addicts, and there was emotional neglect there as well. Her physical safety was in question. You go back to Will's background and a mother who was being abused by by his father, who he looked up to, and was also domestic violence too. And so these two people are a byproduct of coming from environments where there is absolute abuse and neglect in those spaces. It would not be abnormal or even absurd to say that both of them could be actually activated or be presently participating la tête, la vis à la vis on each other, where they neglect and emotionally abuse each other. Um, you know, um, so there is different components to this when it comes to emotional abuse, right? And so I think one of the things that I saw was this clip here, which I wanted to bring to your attention. This was a clip some time back that happened between Will and Jada as to why, especially those particular thought processes or particular conversations began to take place. Let's have a look at this video right here.
Esther Perel is coming to the table. She's going to be at the red table. Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me
Oh my goodness.
if you could film me.
Esther, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Because she don't just.
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter, okay? So you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start rolling. I'm standing in my house. Don't just start rolling.
Please watch us stare at the red table because she's helped us a lot. Can't you?
Now, this was one of the conversations that were happening around their relationship,
Would you say
which came up actually a little bit later on in the conversation. Now, this may have been a skit or whatever it could have been, right? But we're going to take it as it really is, right? As he asked her specifically, hey, I don't want you to record me at this time. I want you to not record me at this time. And instead of actually Jada actually adhering to, okay, do you know what? I won't record you at this time. She actually flips it on him and turns it onto him being the problem in that moment. And I think we can all agree it's a fair request. If I've just woken up and he can kind of see he's not, he's not ready to be filmed at this moment. Wasn't ready to be filmed at this moment. And he's let her know, listen, hey, you just can't film me waking up at this moment, etc., etc. I just want to watch it one more time. Look what happens.
You say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me
Oh my goodness.
if you could film me.
Esther, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Don't.
So immediately as he states his particular boundary, she immediately says, well, it's foolishness. So immediately in that moment, what she does is that she actually renders his particular boundary as not important. And his boundary is not of her concern. It's like, yo, listen, this is foolishness. And you can see visibly there that Will is not in the best place to have this conversation, right? She's being dismissive. And again, this would actually make sense when you go to their background. And when I start combing through their backgrounds, you're going to realize why this is so easy for both of them to be involved in, both the person who's doing it and the person also who's stating their boundaries, which is Will, right? That both of them easily, because of their backgrounds, could be in this position, right? Because when we talk about emotional neglect, when you look at Jada's background, her mum, her mum was someone who's a drug addict, and her father, and there was a lack of emotional care for each other. In that, when your emotions are not met and your needs are not met, it's very easy to go to disregarding somebody else's emotions because you don't even recognize their emotions, right? We're going to talk about why she overshares within the concourse of her relationship. Why does she keep oversharing on the internet? Or at least, let's say this, oversharing is really determined by the audience. So she could share and we'd be like, that's comfortable. It really is about the audience. And as an audience, we've actually spoken on many different blog sites, on many different comments. We've all said it's too much. We don't want to know. Right? So, and that's a good point, Tora, as well. It's a good point. She did say that on a Red Table Talk, that there are times where he asks her opinion and he will just do it anyway. Absolutely true. Which is why I said both of them are going to be doing stuff that, because of their background, comes from a place where they're going to disregard each other's feelings because their feelings have been disregarded as young individuals, right? So again, just watching the last of this video.
Because she don't just.
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter. Okay, so you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start rolling. I'm standing in my house. Don't just start rolling.
Please watch us stare at the red table because she's helped us a lot. Can't you?
So you can see that he looks visibly uncomfortable in that moment. This is something that, sparked again, conversation around, the emotional abuse aspect. Again, I want to say, we don't see enough to be able to say it. I think people want to jump on the bandwagon very easily. I said the same thing about the men too, when women are saying about men are abusive. Sometimes men are not just abusive. Sometimes men just do stuff that you don't like. And same here. But I can see how this could be an aspect of emotional abuse. I'm not going to call her an emotional abuser if I don't agree with everything that she does. I want to be very cautious of that. I think that's a conversation for another time, but I did want to broach it really quickly before I go deeper into their background. So let's go into their backgrounds, because I think when we want to start this conversation, we need to start it at the base level. Where does this all start? Because there's a conversation here too, which a video that I want to bring to your attention, guys, as well, right? Let me bring this particular video to your attention so that you can have this conversation, because we just heard that Jada said, they were in a marriage and now they are separated and they're living their totally different lives, but they're not going to divorce. Well, before you can divorce, you have to have got married. Let's have this conversation, because I think this is really important. Before you divorce, you've got to have been married before you get to that place. What I mean by this is that, simply put, what was the reason for why you guys got married? What was a reason for you guys getting married, right? And let's have a look at what Jada kind of said to us in the very beginning, right? Let's go.
I really didn't want to get married, but
we only got married because Gammy was crying.
Well, Gammy, this is what happened. It was almost as if Gammy was like, "You have to get married." So let's talk about the wedding. I was like, I never wanted to be married.
I don't remember that. I remember feeling very strongly and wanting you guys to be married. I do remember that.
Yes.
But I don't remember your rejection of the idea of marriage. I remember the rejection of the idea of a wedding.
I didn't want a wedding either. I was like, I don't want to get married. And now Gammy done gone to Will crying about, I don't want to have a wedding. And now I'm being forced to have a wedding. When really, I just wanted it to be the two of us on a mountain. So I was like, this is serious business.
Yeah, wedding was horrible.
It was a horrible wedding.
It was a mess. Jada was sick. She was very unpleasant. Wouldn't she was sick. She didn't cooperate with anything.
I will replay the video again for you guys, but I want to first start off by saying, that first initial statement by Jada, she did not want to get married. She didn't. She didn't want to get married. And Will's response was to say, well, actually, at the same time, Gammy was pushing for it too. Gammy was like, well, hold on a minute. Why am I in it? You already made it clear that nobody wanted to take any responsibility at this point in time, right? Everybody didn't want to take responsibility, right? Nobody wanted to take responsibility in that situation. So in that situation, Jada's like, hey, I didn't want to get married, but then I end up getting married. So for somebody who says they are a free spirit, okay, a free spirit who just wants to be free, why did you allow yourself to be cajoled into a marriage that you didn't want to necessarily be married? You wanted to be on a mountaintop. What happened? Then two, Will Smith, you knew that she didn't want to get married because you had a conversation with Gammy, and Gammy was actually the one advocating for them to get married. So why did you allow yourself to be cajoled by Gammy? Number three, Gammy, you knew your daughter's truth, and you knew your daughter didn't necessarily want to get married. Why did you push so heavily for marriage, knowing your daughter didn't want marriage? Right? Now, let me say this, and thank you very much, Jay, for that, because I'm going to talk about that in a second as well. So each individual person on that table actually passed the buck. Everybody was like, no. And in reality, and this is why I said that marriage is not just a two people thing, because look at this situation. It's not a two people thing, right? And the reality of the situation is, if you don't want it, don't do it, because you will blame somebody else at the end and say, well, you said, instead of actually taking some accountability. Everybody here is removing themselves from that particular position of responsibility, right? And you know, that's very true, Alana, as well. That is Elena. That's very true. Very good point. But yeah, so it's clear to see here. And I want to play it one more time so we can get the fullness of this, right? Let me just restart this. Hold on.
I really didn't want to get married, but
We only got married because Gammy was crying.
well, Gammy, this is what happened.
Hold on. Let me just get this open for you guys so I can do it again.
I really didn't want to get married, but
We only got married because Gammy was crying.
well, Gammy, this is what happened. It was almost as if Gammy was like, "You have."
Now, I've actually heard the story in full, and it wasn't just that Gammy was crying. Will Smith had a conversation with Gammy, and Gammy was like impressing that, I want you guys to get married. Like, if that's what I want you guys to go towards that side of things. The full conversation was that when Will also spoke to Jada, she let him know she ain't trying to get married. She ain't trying to get married. She didn't want to get married. So he heard that very loud and clear. He heard from Gammy very loud and clear. He's not a victim in the situation because they all played a part in it, right? And that's why this marriage is at the state of it. That's why partly this marriage is at the state of it is. Jada didn't stand true to her word, because in reality, what she wanted was she wanted Will Smith, but she didn't want Will Smith in the marriage format, because I think there's a fear ahead of marriage. Remember, Gammy has been married 4 times. I need you to understand this. Let's take this background quickly. Gammy has been married 4 times. Jada Pinkett's mum has been married 4 times. And I want you to put this into perspective. She's been married 4 times. She was a heroin addict for 20 years. Okay? She was a heroin addict for 20 years. There was emotional neglect because she couldn't really hug her daughter. Didn't really, Jada mentioned that she wasn't able to hug her, get close to her, and so that part of the relationship also wasn't able to be, wasn't able to formulate the way that it should in her youth. There's a part where Jada said she experienced something very young, which was very nasty, not nice. I don't know if it's sexual abuse or whatever. I'm not saying it was Gammy. I'm saying that she experienced something, but she didn't elaborate what that particular thing was. And so now you've got that whole situation. You got a father who's a drug addict too. You've only got really one. You got really half a parent kind of working in this situation. You ain't got 2. You got half a parent, right? You got half a parent working at this moment. So you're trying to hold on as much as you can to your mum, as much as you can, and then you see your mum go through 3 marriages, because the 4th one is now her longest serving marriage, which, shout out to Gammy, has been like almost 20 something years. And she reconnected with her old flame, who was, and this is why it's interesting with a Tupac situation. The mother has married her past boyfriend years back, I think as youngsters. So I wonder if in the mind of Jada, where she also feels cheated, is that if Tupac was alive, maybe she might have done a rerun. Maybe she would have gone back round and ended up with Tupac. Although she lets us know very, very clearly that she is very platonic between herself and Tupac. But we'll address that Tupac situation a little bit later. So Jada's coming from a very toxic background. So is Will. Will's coming from a background where he's seen a marriage, but his mum has been abused by his dad. So whilst he's seen his dad provide support financially, he's seen a father who, when he gets drunk, ends up abusing not only him, but the mother too. That means both of these people in this situation, right? Both people in this situation are now people who are coming from broken homes, very broken, distorted homes in terms of emotional aspects. So when you look at Jada and her saying that she didn't want to be married, yeah, she didn't want to be married. She did not want to be married at all. And she should have stuck to her guns. But she didn't, because again, when you're wanting to be loved and cared for, and then you have your mum also too, who you've now rediscovered your relationship with, you're growing and you're expanding in that relationship, and she's saying to you, listen, get married. But no one's taken into account the fact that Jada has a fear, I believe, I think there would have been a fear of marriage. That is why Jada was saying, go I'd rather go into into the mountaintops, if you hear it correctly, right? She said, I'd rather go into a mountaintop. Listen.
This is serious business.
Yeah, wedding was.
Now I'm being forced to have a wedding when really I just wanted it to be the two of us on a mountain, because I was like, this is serious business.
Yeah, wedding was horrible.
It was a horrible wedding.
It was a mess. Jada was sick. She was very unpleasant. Wouldn't cope. She was sick. She didn't.
So obviously she was sick because she was pregnant at the time as well, guys. So she was 6 months pregnant at the time when she was going to marry Will Smith. So she was pregnant at the time, 6 months. So there's a lot happening for them at that time as well. But she said it herself. She wanted to be on a mountain with Will Smith. That's it. So it's not that she didn't love Will Smith. It's the fact that, you know what, I think, and maybe I'm giving my conclusion way too early, but it's like when trauma catches up with you, trauma will catch up with you. When you begin to settle in the relationship, that's when trauma will catch you. Because trauma's been waiting. You're happy, you're excited, honeymoon, it's been going well. You've got, you're chasing your family, you now want kids, you got your career, all that kind of stuff. And then when you finally hit this place where, quote unquote, you have a lot going on, and you know what, maybe you've reached what we call a plateau. Suddenly, when you reach that plateau and you're able to stop for a moment and think and breathe without considering anything around you, trauma now hits. And trauma collects you when you haven't dealt with it, right? So that's going to play a part in the later part of the video, and definitely in the later part of their relationship. So that's the first part I wanted to show you guys, because I think that's really interesting that she didn't see that marriage was going to be her place to be. And I think that's more to do with the fact that what she had seen in those marriages with her mum. You know what I mean? It's clear to see that the mum's marital issues were probably the reason why she felt some way about marriage, right? She probably felt like, you know what, with her mum, I've seen her, go into marriage after marriage. I've seen the drugs, you know what I mean? That's the last thing. If you want to just read it here, I was on the People's. It's a post by them. It says Banfield Norris, which is her mum, her husband Rodney Norris in 2016. He is her fourth marriage and the president of CEO of Positive Pathways, a nonprofit. So he's her fourth husband. So let me put this on so you can see. So Banfield Norris married her husband Rodney Norris in 2016. He is her fourth husband and the president and CEO of Positive Pathways, a nonprofit that serves adults with developmental disabilities. The couple opened up about their relationship during August 2022 episode of the Oprah Winfrey Network docuseries Black Love. Okay, all right. And it says the Red Table Talk host remembered that she was head over heels when she reconnected with her husband decades after they first dated. I don't know that I necessarily needed marriage, she reflected. I just wanted to be with him. I just wanted to see where it would go. I was just crazy about him. I am crazy about him. Okay. But they both obviously overcame their addictions because that's how they connected, right? So that's big as well. So yes. So yeah, there might have been, I think there's a conversation in the chat right now, there might have been pressure too from Gammy because she's also 6 months pregnant. It's like, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you guys trying to be together or not? We know that Will has a very strong idea of what he wants a relationship to look like. We know that Will he's mentioned that before. He has a very, 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 very strong idea when it comes to how he sees his particular relationship, and I think that in itself also played a part in it. Let me see if I can actually get that as well. Yes, I want to get this clip for you guys as well, because I think it will help to bring understanding as well in terms of where Will Smith was coming from in terms of the marriage ideals and why he chose to want to be married at that particular distinction part 2, right? So I'm going to bring it up for you guys. All right, let's share this tab. Here we go.
Upset that I had to have a wedding. I
Yeah.
was so pissed. I went crying down the freaking aisle.
Oh, getting married.
Getting
Yeah.
married. Cried the whole way.
I want to skip ahead.
Really didn't want to get married, but
We only got married because Gammy was crying.
I was
Not
under
married.
so much pressure, you know, being a young actress, being
Yeah.
young, and
And
I was just
and
like
pregnant.
And I was just like, I didn't know what to do, but I just knew. I was like, I never wanted to be married.
Horrible.
It was a horrible wedding.
It was a mess. Jada was sick.
Sick,
She was
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
unpleasant.
Wasn't a day in my life that I wanted anything other than being married and having a family.
Wow.
From like
Well, thank the good Lord.
literally 5 years old, I was picturing what my family would be.
Wow.
So as you hear from Will quite clearly there, from 5 years old, he wanted to be married. He's always had that ambition. And it's very rare to hear a man speak about how much he's always wanted to be married. Now, don't get it twisted. I mean, I've been wanting to be married, you know, maybe not from 5 years old though, you know, from 5 years old. That's usually what women usually tell us, you know, that from young, they've always dreamed of that because that's usually what is driven to them. But for us as men, usually that's not what the drive is, like from 5 years old. So, you know, he's had an idea in his head for a very long time, what he pictures as a marriage, you know, and that's really important. So you got somebody who's wanted it and craving it, and you got somebody who didn't even want it in the first place. We're at two polar opposites, right? We're at two polar opposites here. We're at a place where one person is like, you know what? I don't want to get married. The other person's like, I want to get married. And here is the first instance of compromise that has been made on Jada's part. Now, I'm not saying this is a positive, right? Because it's more of a sacrifice, and the sacrifice is why we're here now. The very first instance is you didn't want to do it, and someone else did want to do it. There should have never been a progression into marriage. It should have either stayed as you guys just dating, or you should have said, you know what, we had a kid, but we're not going to get married because we don't agree how we see our lives, right? And I think now we're at a place where both of them are equally comfortable staying in this place of marriage, but not quitting, right? They've quit, but they've not quit the marriage. Yeah. So in this instance, we've now got two people with two different mindsets, wanting two different things, and yet we've ended up with one person getting what they want, other person not necessarily getting what they want. We are now living in what we see as the post result of that first initial statement of not wanting something versus wanting something. Because someone is a free spirit, the free spirit doesn't want to be contained by the marriage. The marriage, the paper, the legalistic aspect of it being embedded in law and you doing this traditional marriage is constricting for Jada. Jada has always said she's a free spirit. But then she engages in it. She goes, okay, I'm going to try it, right? I'm gonna try it. I'm going to see how it happens, see how it go, right? I'm going to see how this works. I'm going to try my best to. I'm going to fall in love and I'm going to try and see where it goes, right? You end up doing it and maybe you actually end up liking it. And then things happen from both sides. Trauma kicks in, and then there are attachment issues, and there is emotional neglect on both sides. There is a lack of listening and a lack of providing. There's a lack of supplying each other of what we actually need, you know, and all the stuff that's happening that begins to unravel the relationship, you know. So there's all that stuff. Okay. Going back, I want to see if I can get the clip for you guys. Going back a bit further, because of now we started that whole never wanting marriage. I think it's also important that we talk about, you know, her relationship with, I think, her father aspect too, right? Let's see this part. If I can get this part for you guys. Okay, cool. Yeah, there we go. There's one part here. There's two parts of this I want to get, because there's one part where, so there's a part where there's a conversation between Gammy, Jada, and her brother actually, and they spoke about their father. They spoke about their father and spoke about how in that aspect the father was unable to give them what they actually needed. Her father was an addict. He was somebody who chose drugs over them. And he was unable to be there for him. And actually it was a big regret of Jada that she argued with him before he died. But we understand why she felt that way, because he was unable to give them what they needed. Right? He was unable to supply what was needed for her and her sibling. He was unable to give it. Right? So but then she's angry at the same time too, because that particular person, and I want to play this clip for you, is someone you want them to care about you. You want your parents to love you. You want your parents to be about you. So we're going to talk about it as well. So let me put this here as well. So we got this. All right. Let's put this here. So let's put this on there. Go. All right. Okay. Let's put this here. Okay. There we go. There we go. Yes. Okay. Ooh, baby. Chill out. Okay. I want to just, if I can fast forward it to this point here. Yes, this part.
Pinkett Jr.
I was sick.
Right.
That's what he told me.
And that's what
And
he told
probably
me.
felt like he was protecting you by leaving.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he told me at 7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be your father.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm a criminal. I'm an addict. And that's just what it is.
Dang.
Let's pause it right there first and foremost, right? Because obviously I don't want ET to come after me. But let's pause it right there. And I'll tell you why let's pause it right there. First and foremost, this conversation is starting off at a point where they're saying that Jada's expressing that her father let her know that, hey, I can't be your father because I'm a criminal and I'm an addict. And I'm probably more than likely he's probably going to let you down, right? Now, what does that do to a child when their parent tells them to their face that they can't be their parent? Well, children are oftentimes narcissistic. And when I say that narcissistic, I mean that loosely. They are very self-absorbed. They believe everything is about them. And so what the father was trying to do, and I'm not agreeing with him, but what the father was trying to do is that he knew that he was no good. He knew that he was not going to be able to help them because he will probably be in and out of their lives. He will fail to be consistent. He probably doesn't want the responsibility. He's probably still living a lifestyle of drugs and can't stop, won't stop. And so therefore is only going to inflict more pain. I'm not going to be no good to you as a father in that relationship. But whilst he may make some solid points to the child, this first and foremost is an abandonment. It is you saying you don't want me and I'm not valuable and I'm not worth it. You don't have enough of the strength to stop what you're doing to care for me. Then what is my value in this world if my own father can look at me and not care about me? It's slightly different with than Will Smith's situation, where the father was abusive. Not that he didn't want him to be his son, but he was abusive towards the mother and ended up being abusive towards the son. Slightly different, but there's still aspects of emotional neglect. No matter how present the father is, there's fear that's induced. And there's a hatred that also begins to birth because that child can see the abuse that the father's also putting in. And so the same thing here. How safe did Jada ever feel? The emotional neglect begins to work on your safety and your trust. You can't trust the world no more. You can't trust relationships. Your mother's also a druggie too at the time. She's also somebody who's taking drugs. You can't trust nobody. The only person who's going to have your back is you. Now, this is where Tupac comes in. Because what Tupac now begins to become is what we call consistency. See, people that are emotionally neglected and dismissive of emotions tend to have one good friendship where, you know what, they overcome their attachment style and that person becomes the be all and end all. So part of what Jada's relationship with Tupac is because of attachment issues. Nobody has been present in her life. Of course, she has a brother, but you rarely hear the conversation in terms of their closeness. I think that's a half brother. I think it is even. I'm not sure. I can't even fully know. But you look for the external kind of, the external, place where somebody will see value in you. And one thing that Jada consistently keeps on saying about Tupac was Tupac kept on telling her, hey, you're going to become a star. 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 And why was this important? Because he was seeing the value in her. It became important because he saw something that others didn't. And funnily enough, do you know the reason why Jada got married to Will Smith? Because she said he saw the value in her as well and gave the love to her, you know? So it's so interesting that the both parties, it's just so interesting to see both parties, how, not in both parties, but see how Jada's has been influenced in this way by both parties, right? Tupac sees her and goes, I see your value. I see you I see you as a valuable person. And Will Smith is like, when I saw you, I met you, I see this valuable person too. I see this in you. And that's what she has not had from childhood. In fact, let me see if I can get you guys a clip of that conversation that she had for both from the Tupac end and from Will Smith's end as well, right? In fact, I've got her. Yeah, this is it. Okay, I've got it. Fantastic. I will get it for you guys so we can get an understanding. Okay. Let me put this tab up. Here we go. Oh, what have I done? Here we go. Ooh. There we go.
And in high school, Paco was a little funny looking. Definitely from looking at him, wasn't necessarily like the type of cat that I would even like deal with, you know. But as soon as he approached me, he was like a magnet. It was like once you paid attention to him, he kind of sucked you in. And we hit it off from that moment on. He would tell me all the time, Jada, you're going to be a star. You know what I mean? I was like, come on. He's like, you're going to be a star. You got it. You just got it.
Right there. So as she lets us know quite clearly, she goes, look, hey, look, you're going to be a star. He's invested in seeing beyond her immediate moment. That is inspiring. That is caring. That is loving. That is a deep profoundness that she probably hasn't had from her mom. Now, her mom did actually move her from schools. That she moved her to another school. She moved her out from the school that she was at, moved her out the environment that they were in, and moved her to another environment. Okay. And she moved her to another environment. And that was the start of Jada's actual career and life, and moved her to a school where she got a scholarship. But what Tupac meant for her was that in that moment, look, he's seeing her. He's seeing her. He sees her beyond this particular moment. That, yes, as someone said, words of affirmation, that care, that someone can see you and go, I see there's a star in you. I see there's more to you than just this immediate moment. I see you've got something special about you. And you can see that person's invested in you. You haven't had that as a kid. You haven't seen that as a kid. So now that because that person becomes so magnified in your eyes, right? He speaks so much goodness about her, right? He spoke so much goodness about her, so much positive words about her. Whenever you hear him speak about her, it is magnified to the highest hill. You never had that when you were a kid. That makes such a difference to a child. That makes such a difference to an adult when they grow up. And so I can see why part of her really enamored by Tupac, because he does all of that. Right? Let me get you a clip for that particular where Will Smith also, she talks about how the reason why she actually married Will Smith as well, because it's something that he said, and I was like, oh my days. I was like, well, this is very similar to the Tupac situation. Like, he's the same reason, right? Let's have a look.
Tell me about the old man. What's he really like?
Just like
Can't be as nice as the guy I just met.
Oh no, he
Got to be a dark, sinister side to Will Smith.
You know what? It's not. It's not.
Well,
That's what's crazy. It's not.
What made you fall in love with him?
I would say Will came at a time in my life where he saw beauty in me that I didn't see in myself at the time.
Woo! Right there. That's it, right there. What did he just say? And I'll replay it for you guys again. Listen to what he just said. Why did you fall in love with Will Smith? because he spoke her love language. He spoke a language that she had not heard from her childhood. How could she? She was emotionally neglected as a kid. Both her parents were drug addicts and doing whatever they were doing, right? So really and truly, Will Smith and Tupac were the same. They saw something beyond what they saw immediately. They saw something beyond the right now. This is why she fell in love with Will Smith and why she had a love for Tupac. Now, I don't know. We can't always say 100% that, fell in love with Tupac. But I would say, you know what? There's such a deep admiration and love for Tupac. And if I'm honest with you, do I think that she wanted Tupac? If my honest opinion, listening to some of the tapes of how she spoke about him, I think they tried. Like she said, I think they tried. It didn't work out. And I think, I think it just didn't go the way they wanted it to go. It didn't go the way they wanted it to go. And when she has not made peace, and I'm going ahead of myself, so let me not go too far. I'm going ahead of myself, so let me pause. But Tupac and Will Smith are exactly the same, right? They're exactly the same. They are two similar characters. They come from different backgrounds. Will Smith wanted to be the gangster that Tupac was. When you listen to his autobiography and you listen to what he said, he wanted to be the gangster that Tupac was. He wanted to be that guy. He wanted to be the guy that was gangster, but he couldn't be because that's not him. And he was always trying to live up to that gangster, persona, but it wasn't him. But what was important is how he spoke to Jada, right? It's how she spoke to Jada. They both spoke in a way of future, both spoke in a way of care, covering, etc., etc. So that's also interesting as well to see that perspective alongside that, when she was talking about their relationship as well, right?
And, he saw a diamond in the rough and he kind of picked me up and blew off all the dust and said, I'm telling you, I'm going to make you shine, girl.
You certainly did, looking at that rock.
Right, exactly. And
Now, do you notice something here about Jada? Isn't there a lightness? Isn't there a warmth? Isn't there a glow about Jada in this particular instance? This is 2011, right? 2011. There's a lightness. There's a fairiness. There's this different energy around her right now, Jada. Different energy. And so what's interesting about the energy here is that something happens because it's not like this later on, right? There's a jadedness. There's a tiredness. There's a heaviness. By the time we see her in the interview with Honda, what we just saw a few days ago, right? By the time we see that interview, of course, she's still beautiful. She's still, has a glow in terms of her beauty. But in terms of that inner warmth of an energy, you don't see it. The glow is gone. I'm tired of playing and acting. I'm tired of having to cover. I'm tired of doing it. It's gone. There's a heaviness there. So the relationship has taken its toll to why we're at the position we're at right now in 2023. See, this energy here is light. It's better. Look.
And I was going through a really rough time. And, he created a safe space for me to get healthy and to grow and to find myself. And
how do you look at the goodness she's even speaking about Will Smith here? Now, of course, it's early days in the relationship. And of course, she, you've got a brand to protect, but you don't care now. You know what I'm saying to you? Okay. You don't care now. Oh, is it Hoda? Okay, sorry. Did I say Honda? Hoda? Okay, my bad. I didn't know. I thought there was an N in there. But yeah. So like with Jada, you can see, you can see here that when Jada's talking about Will Smith here, it's just light. It's easy. Okay. You know, someone asks, how did Will want to be gangster like Tupac? Well, if you read his biography, you will hear him talk about how he always tried to fit in the hip hop world, being quote unquote gangster, but he couldn't be it because it wasn't him. He never came from that background, so he was always feeling like he was fake feeling fake. He always felt like he was fake as a rapper, as someone who was in that space, because he couldn't match what someone like Tupac was doing, because that's not him. He didn't come from that background. He had a very good upbringing in terms of financial wise. They were doing okay. Do you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's what it was. So yeah, back to what I was saying. So, you know, there's a lightness, there's an airiness. Even when he asks her, what's wrong with Will? Let's listen.
And how do you keep things so, I mean, I keep reading that the pair of you have this sort of fantastic sex life after 14 years of marriage.
You have to. You know, and I know people get so upset about it, but for me,
I don't get it. I get excited by it. And what I read was that wherever you go, the pair of you.
I don't know why they were talking about sex. I don't know why the conversation had to be about sex. You know, that don't make no sense to me. Why the sex conversation came up, I don't think you need to discuss that. But hey, that's the question they asked, I guess. You know, and it got to that point. So, you know, c'est la vie. That's why they're here. You know. You know, so yeah, it's quite interesting. You know, I think there are deeper issues on both sides as to why the relationship gets to a point it gets to where we're at now. I think there are deep things that are happening. Let me see.
They're boring, you know, and you commit.
Really critical. Given he's sneaking in the room right now. Let's try and dwell on that fault. One fault.
He's a workaholic.
Is that a fault?
It can be at times, but it's not like a crushing fault. But you said one.
Look at the energy. No, I'm sorry. You can't tell me this woman didn't love this man at this point. You can't tell me the energy was different. At this point, they had been married, what, since 98, 97? It's now 2011. You know? You get what I'm saying to you? You feel me? So there is a lot that's going on underneath the carpet. There's things that have been done to each other. They've both done some dumb stuff. I'm saying some stupid stuff. The rumors of cheating, the rumors of misbehaving. And it's funny because actually, Jada said something really interesting concerning their relation. I'll get to that place in a second or two. I don't want to go ahead of myself again. But she actually said the betrayal wasn't the cheating. So there's something else that's obviously caused her to feel betrayal in that marriage so much so. Okay, let's keep it back to here. So the emotional backgrounds affect adult relationships. Both Jada and Will have been through some really political, emotional backgrounds when it comes to their parents. And you know, it's been deep. It's been painful. It's been you know, I would say has affected them, right? Let me see if I can get the one with the mum conversation with Will, because these two people have experienced such emotional abuse on their backgrounds that it's hard not to have that play back into your adult relationship without there being some awareness of how this has impacted you at the time. In fact, let me you know, let me bring this in.
Each of my siblings remembers that night in the bedroom with me standing there in the doorway. I watched my father punch my mother so hard that she spit up blood. That moment, probably more than any other moment in my life, has defined who I am today.
Will Smith.
Now, what's really important about this is, like he just said, that key word there, that day has probably defined the rest of my life, right? These moments define people, and it defines their marriages as well. You get what I'm saying to you? It defines their marriages. So, interestingly enough, when you have, you know, a relationship, a marriage, the trauma that you've experienced as a kid is going to come up. It's going to rear its ugly head. It's going to say, hello, hi, I'm here. You haven't dealt with me, and I'm ready to show myself to you now, right? I'm ready to take center fold and center precedence. Now, what happens to a child when they experience these emotional abuses? Well, you know, they suffer in emotional neglect often, the inability to trust others, They stress and they internalize their stresses. They become very self-sufficient. They have a fear of abandonment, a fear of a lack of boundaries, they're repeat offenders of neglect, right? When you're emotionally neglected, these things happen. In fact, let me even I can show you my screen a little bit. I'll do that later. I can't bother to now. This is it, right? And then in adult relationships, you fear intimacy or emotional availability because of trust. When you mistrust people because of what you've experienced as an emotional neglect, you find it hard to be emotionally available or have intimacy. You don't want to ask anybody for help. You lack in the emotional expression because children mirror the parents or the people that they're around the most in learning how to emote. They learn those things, right? And so when it becomes hard to recognize it in others, it's because that's often emotional dysregulation because you've not had chance to mirror it. All right. There is an aspect of you can't acknowledge or identify or respond. Okay. You can't identify your own emotions. You can't identify others. You can't acknowledge yours. You can't acknowledge others. And you can't respond to your own emotions and needs for them because you yourself have not had time to learn how to do that. It's not been your number one priority. Right? It's not been your number one priority. So these things of both, and this is coming from both of their backgrounds because both of them have experienced emotional neglect. Vulnerability, intimacy, or emotional situations can make you uncomfortable. It's funny because now we're in a position where Jada is not uncomfortable with being vulnerable or being in an emotional situation. In fact, Jada is doing the extreme of the other end. She's exposing everything. She's gone the complete other way where she's now made it completely where she talks about everything to a point where we're asking, this is oversharing and it seems to be even abusive, quote unquote, i.e. to the other partner to be doing so much of this. Right? So it feels like what Jada's doing is using the red table as her form of therapy. Now, I'm not saying she hasn't done therapy, but I feel like she uses the red table a bit like myself too. I use YouTube at points in time when I'm talking to people to learn and to grow and to develop myself. And so what Jada's doing is almost using the red table as her diary, using it as a way of recuperating from the experiences that she had as a young kid. And sometimes when you've gone through something, you try to help other people who are going through it have clarity. It's your way of helping yourself by helping others. And so that red table talk and other interviews that she does where she exposes everything, it's part of her healing process. It's a part of her being freed from saying some of this stuff that I've experienced that she's had. And maybe she should have wrote a book earlier, right? Maybe she should have wrote a book earlier. Who knows? Right? If you're emotionally neglected, your adult relationships, you never feel totally safe. You never feel totally safe. Right? And so the anxious attachment tends to try and control the person to keep them close. The avoidant attachment tries to keep the person far away, tries to create distance between the two of them. So the control is in two formats. The anxious person tries to control the person to bring them close. The avoidant says, I want to control the situation by keeping you far away. But either one is control. All right. When you've gone through emotional neglect, one of the things that's hard is avoid new experiences coming out of your comfort zone. It can be very difficult. If you read the book with Will Smith, he said one of the hardest things, and one of my hardest things, is swimming. He hated water. Didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do it at all. He was fighting against that for a time. Right? And one of the things that's key also is you're not sure what brings you pleasure. You're not sure what brings you pleasure. Now, what is interesting about this is she has a conversation on her red table. I want to bring it out, okay? She has a conversation about red table. So let me just get this for you guys, okay? And then we could talk about it. Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Let's bring this up. Ooh, baby. All right. Here we go. All right. Let's get this up. So,
What was your hardest time in our marriage?
okay, so I'm gonna get to this part where she spoke about how for her she wants to do it her way, and I feel like this is so powerful. Okay, so we're gonna go to this part here because this is all part of that background and her now coming into a space where she needs to speak up. Yeah. So for Jada, she's now speaking up. This is where I feel like Jada is in the marriage right now. Very similar to Tia Mowry in the relationship. She's now choosing to speak up. And now she's choosing to speak up. The relationship does not serve anymore. Do you get me? Right? The relationship no longer serves in the same way because now I found my voice, I'm finding my freedom. This relationship isn't serving me anymore. So the relationship has had to change. Look at this. Let's have a look at this. Right? Listen to this.
It wasn't a party for her.
Yeah. And that was a display, that moment of like me having the courage to just say no.
No. Yeah.
But now I had to have the courage to unravel it and just
now let's pause it there. She said she now needs to have the courage to say no. Well, why couldn't she say no before? Well, we've already experienced this in the very beginning of the show, right? We said this at the very beginning. We said Jada couldn't say no because in the beginning, why? In the very beginning, when you got married, you were saying no, but you didn't listen and you went ahead of the marriage. You didn't want to be married, right? But you've been experiencing not being able to say no because you haven't had the opportunity to say no. If you grew up in a household where you're emotionally neglected, what's there to say no to? You're not even being attended to. You're not even being attended to. You just want to be loved. You ain't got the chance to even say no because you ain't even got the time to even say no because you're not even being attended to. You're not being appreciated. Right? So what happens? You get into a relationship, you get into a marriage, and you continue the process of, and again, let's make it very, very clear what's happening here. In her childhood, because of the emotional neglect and the abuse that's happened in terms of the fact that there's been drug abuse from the mother, etc., right? A child learns how to negate their own feelings in order to survive the environment that they're in. So we've got Jada negating her needs, negating her no's because she's trying to survive an environment. She survives the environment, becomes a star, yes, ends up marrying, and then the trauma kicks up. The trauma comes and catches up with her and says, hey, you know you haven't been able to say no. You know you haven't been living your own particular life. You've been living for other people. You've been living because your mum said this or did that, or you've been living for Tupac, or you've been living for Will. And you've lived for Will in this instance. So now we're going to get to a situation where now the trauma catches up and you're like, actually, I want to change it. I want to change it now. I want something different. Listen again.
just realizing this next 40, I got to do it my way.
Jada says up until that point, she was trying to live up to an idea of Jada Will had created, instead of just being Jada.
Pause right there. Do you hear what he just said? You hear what she just said? It said that Jada, she said the next 40 years, I'm going to spend trying to do things my way. Now, whether we agree with it or not, I'm just telling you what's happening, right? Whether we agree with it or not, I'm just telling you what's happening. You know? So, in reality, this situation, she is now saying, I'm going to take control of the reins. Right? I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to choose to do it my way. But now choosing my way is also you and the other person going in different formats, in different ways. Right? They're now going in two different directions. Because now the situation is you're going to do what you want to do, and that can be in direct opposition of the other party. And the commentator ended up saying that, you know, she was living Jada as the reality of through Will Smith. She was becoming the Jada that Will Smith wanted, not the Jada that she wanted. Why did that happen? One, because Will Smith's got a very strong identity in terms of what he wanted and what he saw. And number two, because also Jada, although she is a very strong-spirited person, she's also got an aspect of her that wants to care and nurture. And because of what she had been through, she surrendered in the marriage and surrendered to the idea of what a woman should be. And so in that essence, she lost part of herself. And so what she's saying is, I surrendered not only to Will, but she would have surrendered to the idea of what a woman is supposed to do: become a mother, have kids, you know, be on the back burner. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just kind of giving an idea of where she may be coming from. And then when you realize that's not you and never has really been you, what's going to happen? You're going to fight it now. Now you're going to want to fight it. And now you're saying no more. And we know this because the conversation that both Will and the conversation that Will and Jada have is real, right? And yeah, you're right. Midlife crisis. You know, it do that to you, you know?
To have to let go of the picture, to have to let go of the dream was devastating. We essentially had to destroy our marriage.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let me tell you how they destroyed the marriage, because they didn't just destroy the marriage like, oh, let's reroute and let's refigure things out. No. They didn't just do that. No. This is different kind of destroying of their marriage, because what happened is they had to go their separate ways. They were in the book of Will. He says about they almost separated in 2011, short while, right? For a short while, 2011 they had to separate for a little while. But the major separation happened in 2016, 7 years ago. Now, then fast forward to 2022 and the red table talk about August Alsina. And in that conversation, you hear her say very clearly, we were over. He says, it felt like we're going to be over. And she said, no, we were over. And so now when you fast forward to 2023 and you hear her say, actually, you know what? I'm trying to do good on my promise on not quitting this marriage or finding a reason to quit this marriage. It been over. Right? It been over. So, okay. All right. So let's go back a little bit, right? Let's go back a bit. And Elsid said something, right? So how's it entanglement? It's not. And Will Smith called it out correctly. If you watch, I don't know if I can get a clip for you guys. Will Smith called it out correctly. It wasn't an entanglement. He said it straight. It wasn't an entanglement. It was a relationship. He said that to her on that red table talk. When she says entanglement, he said, entanglement? You mean relationship? Right? Because Will Smith was very much aware. He was like, no, this wasn't an entanglement. This is you was in a relationship. You wasn't entangled. You was in a relationship. I'll find a clip for you on the red table talk. On that aspect, because he actually calls it out and says, no. It was a relationship, guys. Like it wasn't an entanglement. No, entanglement would be something different. None of this thing is you formulated a relationship. You know, you went into a relationship. I don't know if I can even find it. Jada, an entanglement? He said, is it an entanglement? He was like, wait, an entanglement? No. It was not an entanglement at all. No, it's not an entanglement at all. Don't even try it. It was a relationship. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can find it. Hold on. Let's see if we can find it, guys. I'm going to see if I can get you a clip of that.
Now Black Twitter has claimed it as their business.
But, you know,
I think you need to say clearly what happened.
As far as what?
You and I decided we were going to take our space, and what happened. And
so listen to what they were going to take their space. Listen, he said, look, you and I were agreeing that we're going to take our space, and then what was going to happen?
Entanglement.
Yes. Yes.
A relationship.
Yes, it was a relationship. Now.
See how he corrects her? Is that no. You call it an entanglement. No. It's a relationship. That's what you had. Okay. Right. So she wanted to say entanglement because it made it sound a bit easier. It probably said less heavy. I get it. And because they hadn't both fleshed out the fact that they're separated at this point, you know what I mean? But he kind of says it. Look, we kind of, we're kind of in our separate ways at this point. Okay. Right. So there's clear evidence here.
Now, in the process, and you and I were also going through a process of healing in a much different manner. I would definitely say we did. And it all started with, me wanting to help his health, his mental state.
Because for me, that was the thing when Og first came around, he was really sick.
He was really, and I mean, we found, and from there,
yeah.
And we decided.
I was done with your ass.
Yeah, you kicked me to the curb.
I was done with you.
Yeah.
Marriages have that, though. Marriages have that.
Yeah,
we decided that we were going to figure out how to make yourself happy, and I'll figure out how to make myself happy.
Well,
I really felt like we could be over. And then what did you do, Jada?
Well, I think from there, as time went on with August.
I launched into an interaction. What do you feel like you were looking for?
It had been, and it was, I think that has.
Like, it's interesting, but Will Smith never exposed Jada. That, let's not put that on Will Smith at all. Will Smith has never put her out like that. Will Smith has not put her out like that. Jada wanted to do this, and I'm going to prove the clip to you again. This particular thing, I'm going to show you a clever clip. This particular aspect, he didn't want to put. He's not the one that wanted to put this out. Jada wanted to put this out. She wanted to address it. She wanted to get on top of it. She wanted to talk about it, right? But actually, the original video, and this is what I'm saying about Will Smith. Will Smith always wants to try and create the narrative. That's who he is. He's a storyteller, right? And so, this isn't on Will Smith. This is not on Will Smith exposing this information. It was August who put it out there. August the one that said it, and then Jada wanted to address it, and he then supported her in the addressing, right? So let me bring this to you guys as well, because I want to be able to bring this part to you. I think. Oh crap! Sorry. Let me I'm gonna bring this part here. Oh, this thing don't want to work like that. Hold on, baby. Hold on. You don't want to do that. Say you wanna ginger me. I know. Say you wanna ginger me. All right, cool. So here's a clip.
Don't just start filming me.
I'm gonna show you a clip of the conversation here. All right. Listen to this. It's gonna be interesting. Watch this.
Will meme in a video shared on Will's YouTube channel.
He wasn't crying.
No, it was midnight. We were shooting at midnight because we were trying to rush to go to the airport in the morning.
Should have stuck to
And I
my
was
first
tired.
gut, which is reshoot the whole thing.
That's what I said. I said reshoot it, but it played out. Everybody's like, poor Will.
Oh God. Yes.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
was like,
Then in September 20.
Now, as you hear there clearly, she said, "Oh, I should stuck to my gut instinct." Why didn't you? Why didn't you? Because you were trying to get ahead of the devil too quickly, and because also Will looked like a dickhead in that video, right? There was no covering from Jada in that moment. If he tells you reshoot it because it don't look good, and then you happily go on and go, "Nah, actually, I'm not going to do that," but you want to tell us now I should listen to my gut instinct. No, your gut instinct was linking with what he said. It wasn't a gut instinct. You didn't want to reshoot it. You wanted it the way it was, and you went ahead of it. Because your gut instinct was in alignment with what Will also said. Reshoot it. I told you to reshoot it. You didn't wanna. Right? So now he makes a joke about how at the end, I look better. Because you knew when you watch it and you go to yourself, Will looks like he's broken. Finished. Looks like it's finished. So you're thinking that maybe she misjudged it. Maybe she didn't realize how it was going to play out. And look, in the end, how it played out was not in your favor. It didn't play out in the way of like, oh my God, like Jada. It played out like, yo, Jada, you're moving mad and you've done Will dirty. I don't think anyone's making on this channel. Nobody's making Will a helpless victim. No one's made him a helpless victim. That's not a narrative that exists in this spirit at all. We don't make Will a victim here, right? We're not making Will a victim here. We're addressing the fact that in reality, in this particular context of a situation, I just played you the video. The evidence is right there. The person told you reshoot it. And you then tell me, oh, my gut instincts are telling me, and you don't. And the reason why you don't is in reality because you thought you had a one-up. You thought you were going to play it and be cool with it. And I'm like, you're looking at it and going, you can see, right? And now his eye, like he said, the reason why I was looking tired is because I was going for late, whatever, going to the airport, whatever. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So you should have just reshot the whole thing. But you didn't want to. You have to take accountability for that. That's you. So you formed your own narrative. Right? You formed your own narrative. Yet again, you've dismissed. And I'm not saying that Will hasn't done this. Will's done this too. Okay? Will's done this too. And we're not saying that Will is not doing things. I'm not saying that Will isn't doing things behind the scenes. What I'm saying is stop confirming. Like, the one thing about Will is that he hasn't confirmed anything. We don't know. He probably is in these streets. And I'm more than likely he probably is. I'm not going to try and pretend as if we don't know he's in the streets. But it's not confirmed. And so long as it's not confirmed, it's always a gray area. We can debate it every day, but it's not confirmed. We can confirm the entanglement. Unfortunately, and again, that entanglement is not even that much deep. It's not even that much deep, but, so there are things so we're not making Will we're not making Will this innocent party. He is not innocent at all. He's not innocent in the situation. He's complicit to this. There are certain things that are happening behind the scenes that have contributed towards why Jada is the way she is in this relationship. I'm not making it her the only person who's doing things. Not at all. Right? We know this already. Not at all. We know he's been doing his things. Right? So that situation, that situation played out the way it played out, right?
Told GQ that.
Now, what I will say is, I feel like Will lives in delusion. Can I be honest with you? I feel like Will lives in delusion. Okay, that's what I want to say. I talked about Jada, but let me get Will. Will lives in delusion. I'll tell you why Will lives in delusion. Because I played earlier on the video clip of, the video clip of the where Jada said she didn't want to get married, right? Well, I have another video clip of Will Smith, and him saying that it's not that she didn't want to get married, it is that she wanted to do it her own way. And I was like, nah, player. She told her straight, she ain't want to get married. And so I started to realize, no. Will Smith's got a little bit of delusion in him. He ain't trying to hear all that chat, from Jada. There's a part here. I'll play a bit part here, and you'll hear it as well.
That Jada never believed in conventional marriage because she grew up in a family where many people had unconventional relationships. And he also said that he and Jada chose monogamy without considering that maybe monogamy is not, as he put it, relational perfection. We have given each other trust and freedom with the belief that everyone has to find their own way, Will said. And marriage for us can't be a prison. And although Will went on to say that he doesn't suggest his road for anybody, he also claims that open marriage is the highest definition of love. Of course,
yeah, he was on some bullcrap at that point. But let me see if I can find a clip for you guys. If it was around this, I want to see if I can find if I remember where the clip was, because I was like, wait, this is not what we heard from Jada. I'll come to this Oprah clip in a second. But yeah, for me, I was like, there's a little bit of delusion from Will, because he's refusing to understand the way he told the story about the marriage. I was like, did we not just hear what we heard from Jada? Did Jada not just tell us that she did not want to get married in the beginning? Yet when Will Smith is telling the story, he tells the story in a way that goes on to say, hey, actually, you know, it's not that she didn't want to get married. It's the fact that she wanted to get married on her own terms. I was like, that's not what she said. That is really not what she said. Like, she basically let us know she ain't trying to get married. Like, how you take it to that left side with that particular understanding is why I was like, wait, hold on a minute. Well, that's not what she said. Let me see if I can find a clip for you guys. If I had all my thingies, but I think it's here. Let me go to it. So let me see if I can get a clip for you guys, because I want to be. I was confused. I was like, wait, that is not it. That is not it at all. Do. But let me see what you guys are saying in the meantime while I find that clip for you guys. Wilford presents a fairy tale. That's true. She wanted to see. Y'all are silly, man. Will Smith is delusional. Jada also seems like she lies, so there's that. The marriage is to keep money together and safe. Will knows what it is. They're never going to split up. Fort Knox. Absolutely, yeah. They're definitely gonna. They're not gonna break. They're not gonna break up. They're not going to. There's no need to, because they need to stay together, because you know they have a whole family together, a whole life together. You know, like they can't just quit. No, you can't just quit. No, we need to keep it together. You know, our assets are there in that same way. So, definitely not something that's going to happen. But let me see if I can find this clip for you guys, because
They're partners, but you just have to be respectful with each other.
So people only think in terms of sex. People are trying to put something on it. Will and Jada, what they doing with other people?
Yeah.
Right? Will and Jada ain't really doing too much.
Okay, hold on.
Friendship versus marital prison.
Ooh. Does that mean you all can have other partners, but you just have to be respectful with each other?
So people only think in terms of sex. People are trying to put something on it. Will and Jada, what they doing with other people?
Yeah.
Right?
that is not the clip I was looking for. Golly. I don't know where that clip is, boy. I'll have to find it for you guys later. But there's the clip I was looking for. He actually addressed it and said, listen, basically, that no, it's not that she didn't not want to get married. She wanted to get married, but she wanted to get married in her own way. And I was like, how did he get to that place? Like, how did you get to that place? Because that's not what she's eating. So I was trying to figure out, how did he get to that place of thinking that? And I was like, well, because Will Smith has an idea in his head, like he said, he has an idea in his head of Jada and of marriage and of family that he was even misreading, and in fact, he was even ignoring. He's even ignoring. In fact, he's not just ignoring, he is taking it to a place where he doesn't want to hear it. And maybe he thinks to himself, I can even win her over. I can even talk her into the situation. I can even persuade her. And that's probably why he sees it differently in their interaction. Because it's like, how you get to that place where you're saying that? And it's only because you're not paying attention, and only because you have a desire that's so strong for you personally that you miss this aspect. You miss it. You miss what the person's saying to you when they're telling you clearly, that ain't it. You know? But my time is even up. I need to even get out of here, guys. So
Did these themes during his interview with Oprah Winfrey.
We'll definitely drop a part 2 for this, because I think there's more to discuss. But this relationship, I didn't even get through all my points, but my time is running. So look, guys, I'm gonna leave it here. So we'll drop a part 2 tomorrow, maybe it might be next week. But yeah, this situation, it ain't it. Okay, it ain't it. There are things that we need to untangle and unravel, and I'll get to that for you guys. So like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button. I hope you guys have enjoyed. We'll see you again very, very soon. Much love, much appreciation.